in a culture and an age where everybody seems like they're just so on edge. Is anybody angry here today? Anybody? Honestly, are you angry? One. We got one angry guy. That's good, because I was a little worried about you. So we started last week, and it seemed like for me that because we started last week that everybody was trying to get on my nerves this week. I don't know, maybe I was just a little more aware of it, but it seemed like, that people were just trying to make me angry. For example, I went somewhere on Friday afternoon, could not find a parking space, right? Like the whole place was just crowded. Finally had to drive to the opposite parking lot, find a parking space. I parked I have an F-150 pickup truck with an extended cab, because that's what Christians drive. And so I parked it, good parking spot, found a spot, went, did our thing, go to leave, and some guy driving an Audi sports car, rather than parking in a parking space, decided to park on the curb behind my truck, so much so that now I can't get out. So I start doing the little, zigzaggy type thing to try to get out. Now I know how to park. I can drive stick. I can parallel park, right? So this is too much information, but in high school and in college, I worked in a parking lot, like at the courthouse in Raleigh, North Carolina. I parked cars all the time. I drove any car, every car, parked every car, including police cars. Sometimes a policeman would just hand me the keys to his patrol car, and I would park it. So I know how to park, and I could not get my truck out. So finally, I gently closed my door, and I walked over to the fields where some people are, and I'm like, anybody know who this Audi is that's illegally parked over here? Nobody knew. So here I have this Audi. It's a $70,000 car parked behind me. Then I have this SUV. I looked it up. It was $55,000 SUV. And then on this side, I had a Maserati. And here I am, and probably, I don't know what my truck is worth. It's an '05. I think it's worth at least, $50,000, $60,000. And I'm doing this number trying to back up. Finally, my wife drives over. She says, "Just get in my car." And I'm like, "I'm not getting in your car." I went over. This is my confession to you. I went over to that Audi and I bumped it, thinking if they have an anti-theft device, it might set the alarm off. The people might hear it, come running, and move their car. It did not. So my wife gets out, and she's trying to back me up and get me, and it's because we started this Age of Rage series that finally got to the point where you're kind of stuck between two now, because you're like sideways, edge to edge, and the guy that drives the SUV comes out, and then the girl that drives the Maserati come out, and they move, and I didn't even leave a note on the Audi. Right? Is that... Yes. We live in the most triggered, angry age, and I'm with you. And it's just there's a struggle for us to live like Christ in a difficult age, and when it's like we're so angry. And Roy Williams calls it, he said there's a pendulum that swings in our culture between a me generation and a we generation. And we are just about at the peak of the we, and the tension is now starting to pull back into a me, and everybody is getting a little bit more selfie mode. Like, I have my rights, and I can park wherever I want, and I can do whatever I want because I'm going to do me, and you do you. You do whatever makes you happy. I'm going to do whatever makes me happy. And so we're living in this struggle where everybody's kind of in a demanding mode. And I don't know whether you're here and you're dealing with that or not. But I believe as a culture, we're struggling. We see that in our politics. We see that in road rage. We see that everywhere. That we're going to have to learn if we're going to be like Jesus. Jesus said this. He said, "I did not come to be served, but to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. That in order for us to be like Jesus, we don't come with expectations. We come willing to serve and to suffer. And our mindset is not, hey, what can you do for me? But what has Jesus done for me? And so we're focused on this. And today we're going to talk about living in the age of rage as a family. And I know you're here and you're like, well, I don't have kids. We're going to talk about parenting today. I don't have kids. I'm a senior adult and my kids are grown and they're done. Or I'm a young adult and I don't have kids. This applies. This was written, 1 Thessalonians was written by the Apostle Paul, and the Apostle Paul didn't get married. He didn't have kids, but he had spiritual family. And so as we look at this passage, I want us to be challenged in the way that we behave ourselves by and how we live amongst our family. Would you say with me in honor of God's word? We're going to be in chapter 2 today, 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. For you yourselves know, brethren, that our coming to you was not in vain. But even after we had suffered before and were spitefully treated at Philippi, as you know, we were bold in our God to speak to you the gospel of God in much conflict. For our exhortation did not come from error or uncleanness, nor was it in deceit. But as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing man, but as God who tests our hearts. For neither at any time did we use flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak for covetousness, God is witness. Nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or from others, when we might have made demands as apostles of Christ. But we were gentle among you, just as a nursing mother cherishes her own children. So affectionately longing for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become dear to us. For you remember, brother, our labor and toil, for laboring day and night, that we might not be a burden to any of you. We preach to you the gospel of God. You are our witnesses, and God also, how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we behaved ourselves among you who believed. As you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you, as a father does his own children, that you would walk worthy of God, who calls you into his kingdom and glory. You may be seated. Here we have Paul use some familial terms to describe how he behaved himself among the church of Philippi, or among the church of Thessalonica. He describes himself in this passage. It's kind of awesome. He describes himself both as a mother and as a father. And as we look at this passage, I really think it's helpful for us today to kind of glean some family relationship behaviors from this. And whether you're here and you are a mother, I want you to be challenged. If you're a father, I want you to be challenged. But if you are an uncle or a spiritual parent of someone, or you have, do you have any friends? I want you to be encouraged to behave in these ways. These are good character traits to have. Paul starts out by describing his experience, and you need to know his experience was tough. He says, we came to you from Philippi. We came to you after we had suffered and were spitefully treated. Paul suffered in Philippi. What happened in Philippi was this. They come in, they begin to preach and to teach the gospel. Along behind them comes a demon-possessed slave girl who begins to shout that these are the men of God. These are God's servants, and they're bringing to you the gospel. Now, we listen to that, and we're so like, well, that sounds true, right? These are the servants of the Most High God. And so for several days, this little girl follows them and proclaims, these are the servants of the Most High God. What she said was true. How she said it and what motivated her to say it was an evil spirit. Why would an evil spirit want to come and speak truth about the Apostle Paul? It would be, I try to think of an example, it would be kind of like Osama bin Laden coming and putting his arm around you and telling the world on cable news, coming and saying, hey, you know what, this is a really good guy. right? So you have somebody within the community that everybody knows is a demon-possessed charlatan, witchcraft slave girl who was used as a fortune teller, coming and saying, hey, listen to these guys, they got a good message. Not really the kind of endorsement you want. Although what she said was true, they were servants of the Most High God. What she was doing, what the demon was doing through her, was undermining the message of the gospel. Now, I love the book of Philippi, or the book of Philippians, because it says finally that it happened for several days till Paul got angry and frustrated. I'm glad to know he got frustrated too. And he turned, after a couple days, he turned and cast the demon out of the girl, which was very good for the girl, but very bad for those who were exploiting her for her fortune telling. And as a result of that, they beat Paul. They drug him before the courts. Paul uses two descriptions here. He says that when we were in Philippi, we suffered and were spitefully treated. The term suffered deals with the physical abuse that they took. The spiteful treatment was the false accusations that were made against them. They were drugged and they were falsely accused in front of the authorities. And the idea there is that there was not just a physical abuse, but there was also an unfairness or a illegal thing that happened that caused them harm. And so Paul says, hey, listen, we are willing. We came to you knowing. We came to you on the heels of suffering, knowing that if we did the same thing here, we could expect to suffer. Let me tell you this. If you go out this door right here, right now, you can expect to get rained on. The reality is, as believers, as we live out and we carry out the gospel into a world where the gospel is counter to the culture, you better believe it, buckaroo, that there's going to be some suffering, that there's going to be some spiteful accusations thrown at you, that it's not going to be well received. And Paul said, listen, we didn't come in here, we weren't surprised when we got to Thessalonica and we were mistreated, because that's exactly what happened in the city before. I came knowing how I was going to suffer. So we see Paul's testimony and Paul's example of how he suffered. Look at verse 2b. He said, we were bold in our God to speak to you the gospel of God in much conflict. For our exhortation did not come from error or uncleanness, nor was it in deceit, but as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but as pleasing God who tests our hearts. He says here that they come not just knowing that they were going to suffer, but they knew that they were going to struggle. They were going to conflict. We see how Paul suffered. We also see how he served. I love the word conflict there. It's the word agonize. He knew that it was going to be a struggle. He knew that there was going to be suffering involved, that, hey, you know what, I'm going to bring the gospel to this next city, and it's not going to go well there either, but I'm willing to push through, I'm willing to serve, I'm willing to take that step. We live in a serve me culture. We go to Burger King because we can have it our way. And we want everything our way. We want everything to be accustomed to us. We have our own, we don't even listen to the radio anymore. We listen to our music on our phones played through the radio because we want our songs. We don't want some DJ picking some list for us. We live in a weird world where everything caters to me. Then Paul said, you know what? I'm willing to suffer and I'm willing to serve. He echoes what Jesus says, I did not come to be served, but to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. I'm willing to suffer. I'm willing to go through it. And if we are going to be like Christ in our family relationships, in our parenting, in our treatment of those around us, in an age where everything and everybody thinks it all is all about them, we have to live counter to that. We have to empty ourselves of ourselves We have to be willing to suffer, and we have to be willing to serve. Let's pick up in verse 5. It says, "For neither at any time did we use flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak for covetousness. God is witness. Nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or from others, that we might have made demands as apostles of Christ. But we were gentle among you, just as a nursing mother cherishes her own children, so affectionately longing for you. We were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but our own lives, because you had become dear to us. For you remember, brethren, our labor and toil for laboring night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you. We preach to you the gospel of God." So we know that Paul suffered and that he agonized and struggled to serve. And then he gives us some examples, some parental examples for us. The first one is a nursing mother. He describes her there in verse 7 as gentle. He said we could have, because we are apostles of Christ, because we are the ambassadors, because we are important, because we serve the Most High King, because we are high up in the politic of God, we could have come into you demanding that you serve us. If the Apostle Paul walked in that door right now, do you think he should preach? Okay, good. I'm like, I appreciate your silence on that, but let's be honest here. Let's hear what he has to say, right? Can I get you a bottle of water? Can I get you a cup of coffee? How can I help you? Paul said we could have come in with that attitude, but we came in as a nursing mother is gentle. We came in with a gentleness. We didn't use flattery as a cloak for covetousness. I love that phrase. We did not use flattery as a cloak for covetousness. Now, the first growth step for us in a parenting mode, let me speak to you mothers for a second, or those of you who have a mother, let me speak to you. I've noticed within our culture, and maybe it's always been this way, but there's a lot of selfishness in our desire for children. We got to be very careful, because we want to have a kid because it's going to meet some need in our emotional need in our life. You see this among a lot of people, like, I want a child because it's going to, there's a covetousness there. Like, this child is going to meet my needs. And Paul said, no, it's actually the opposite. You don't have a child to meet some unmet need in your life. You are the one, as a nursing mother, who gives of herself to meet the needs of the baby. It's not the other way around. You don't have kids to fulfill you. In Romans chapter 1, it describes it this way. It says that in the last days there will be unnatural affection. Like that, like there are going to be people that don't have natural affection for one another. They're going to use each other. There are going to be things that when you look at them, you're like, well, that mother really should love her child, but then you look a little closer and you're like, well, but why is that mother just having a kid so that she can meet her own needs? Paul says, be gentle there. There are three admonitions he gives here. The first one is covetousness or selfishness. The second one he describes as glory, that we're seeking some kind of glory for ourselves or from men or from you or from others. We didn't come to you using flattery as a way of getting our own covetous desires, and we weren't seeking glory. And we look at the world of parenting now, and how many parents are living vicariously through their children. Parents are getting glory from what their kids accomplish. not about what their kids want or what their kids desire. It's about the parents getting credit and looking good. And man, we want to have really polished kids. We want to have really successful kids, because if they look good, then I look good. And we take and we fight that, don't we? Getting glory from our children. Hey, you look at Facebook for more than 5 minutes and you see the glory that we naturally have in the pride we take from our kids. Be careful not taking glory. The third demand here is those parents we see that treat their kids as servants. He said, we could have made demands. We chose not to. Sometimes we see this with parenting, right? We see dads or moms have a group of kids, and their kids, man, their kids are so quick to help, aren't they? Like they just want to go get me a glass of iced tea. We struggle with dad in the easy chair jiggling the ice in his glass for his little kid to go and get him some more, right? You guys struggle with that? I struggle with that because I'm the dad in the easy chair. Did I ever do that? I used to do it just to tease my wife sometimes. The reality is that there's a danger in parenting, is that one, that we have kids to meet some kind of selfish, covetous need in our own life when it ought not to be. Paul said, listen, I didn't come to you so that I could build myself up, or so that I could somehow get glory from you, or so that I could have you serve me. The motherhood is not a venture that we step into so that we can get something out of it. We are nursing a very visual example of what it means to give of yourself so that someone else can have their needs met. Paul said, listen, when I arrived at Thessalonica from Philippi, I came suffering and ready to serve. And I didn't come to you trying to get something from you. I came to give. Listen, in a culture where everybody is gimme, 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 I need, we've got to be those who are willing to give. Willing to give of ourselves, willing to suffer, willing to serve. And it's going to be very motherly of us to be the ones to take on that role, because it goes counter to everything else. And we're going to be like, well, I've been giving long enough. Now I got to take care of myself. And the reality is Jesus gave and gave and gave and gave and gave up his life. He never stopped giving. Be gentle. Verse 7. We were gentle among you, just as nursing mothers cherishes her own children. Verse 8, so affectionately longing for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but our own lives, because you had been dear to us. The second behavior of a mother beyond gentleness is affection. The word translated affection here is homoeroomai, which is the only time in the New Testament that this word shows up. In order to understand this word, scholars found where that word was used within the culture, the Greek culture at large at this time, and they found that this word was used on the tombstones of children. When a parent lost a child, it was a yearning affection, a loss. A struggle through a loss from a parent who lost a child. I long for you. I'm affectionately yearning for you. I miss you so deeply. The only time this word shows up in our New Testament, Paul uses it to describe how much he misses the people of Thessalonica. How he longed for them. How he desired to be with them. It wasn't possible. Now he's having to write them a letter to tell them how much he loves them. And when he has a chance to use a word to tell them the extremity of his affection for them, he picks the strongest term he could find. That's what mothers do. They have that strongest instinctual longing and yearning for their children. And Paul says, listen, that's how we are. Listen, the cat's in the cradle. You better be ready for those kids to fly. I'm starting my empty nest. I'm in the beginning stages of depression. The reality is, it's time to use some strong affection words. It's time. And Paul says, listen, I came to you as a gentle mother. I didn't come to you to get something but to give, and I came to show you love. It's time to show love. It's time. If you love somebody, you should tell them. Because that's what a mom would do. You ever hear someone so ugly they have a face only a mother could love? Right? That ever used to describe you too? The reality is, there's an affection that a mother has that as believers we should have. It's not time. Now is not the time to kind of hedge on affection, to hold back saying I love you to somebody. It's awkward. I said I love you to a man on Thursday night, and it was awkward. Love you, man. Like I was in a beer commercial from the 80s, right? But the reality is that guy needed love. And why do we hedge on that word? Paul, when he had the opportunity, found the strongest declaration of love that he could use to say, you know what, I miss you guys, and I miss you like a parent misses a child. In the age of rage, when everybody all wants to use other people to get what they want, we've got to be willing to be gentle and affectionate. And then he describes laboring night and day. I keep saying day and night. If I said it earlier, I apologize. Laboring night and day. We talked about it last week, but that's the term that we use to describe childbirth. Proverbs 31 talks about the woman who labors for her family, and she works hard night and day, not just during the daytime. She doesn't get up and work 9 to 5. She's working in the night and she's working in the day. She's working by candlelight. And I'm so thankful that we now have technology where mothers don't have to work any longer. Right? You remember the invention of the washing machine? That was amazing. Because women used to have to go out and wash their own clothes and wash your clothes and hang them up to dry, beat them on a rock. And now we have washing machines. You don't have to work so hard. Now you have microwaves, so that cuts your cooking. You don't even have to cook dinner anymore. Stick it in the microwave. You have a machine that washes your dishes for you. Mothers don't have to work any longer, right? You don't even have to sweep the floor. You have a robot, like the Jetsons. Do mothers work? Night and day. What's crazy is we've created all these inventions to take that work away from moms. And you know what that hasn't changed? Moms. They're finding more stuff to do. They find more work to do because that's the nature of a mother. And Paul says, listen, when we came to you, we didn't come to get, we came to give. And let me tell you, we came to love. And we came to labor. We came to work on your behalf. We came to serve you, to bring you not just the gospel, but to bring you into the gospel, to bring you the gospel into your life. And we're working among you. And as parents and as people within our families, if we are going to live counterculture to an age of rage where everything's about me, well, we're going to be about you. And the struggle for you this week is to empty yourself of yourself. To make room in your calendar to be a little more motherly. The work has changed for mothers, but mothers haven't changed. And I'm glad Paul didn't leave out fathers as well. Look at verse 10. said, you are witnesses, and God also, how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we behaved ourselves among you who believe, as you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father does his own children, that you would walk worthy of God, who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. So we've seen Paul use the description as a loving mother, as a gentle mother, but now we see him as a faithful father. He gives an example of a faithful father. I love that he puts it all in threes in verse 10. He says how his example was devoutly, justly, and blamelessly. There's three words, Dad, to stick in your pocket. Devoutly refers to how he lived and how he walked with God. His devotion to God. This is a spiritual term. That when we came to you because of our devotion not to you, but to God. Men? Is your relationship with God primary? Or do your kids come first? Or does your wife come first? You are... I got really excited in this man's father's passage because I'm a dad and I identify with it. So I apologize if I gave the mom short treatment, but I'm gonna really preach at you dads. Dads have a tendency to be more of a thermometer of the spiritual temperature in their home than the thermostat. Does that click? When things go wrong spiritually in our homes, we're like, hey, wait a minute. When in reality, we ought to be the one setting the spiritual temperature in the home. Paul said, we came to you, and we came to you devoutly. That we took the lead spiritually. We live in a time and an age where in a lot of churches, it's just the ladies. That the dads don't show up. If the dads don't show up, if the dads do show up, they show up in tagging along. That ought not to be. If you're a dad here and your wife drug you to church, you're out of order. You need to take the lead. You need to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You need to be the one that comes in devoutly. Paul says, we came to you devoutly and justly. That means you're in charge of the justice in your home. And you make sure things happen right. It means you are the judge. My kids would get in arguments with one another, and they would call each other names. Growing up, do you guys still call each other names? Yeah, they do. Thanks, honey. And I remember getting in their face, and I'm like, nobody talks to my kid. Right? And I'd just get all justice. It was the Justice League for my home. And that's our role as dads. We come in and we've got to love justice. We've got to set things in balance. We've got to make sure things are done right within our home. That means when we get off track, we get back on track. We're not telling our kids to do anything that violates the law. We're not helping them to break the rules. We are people of justice. That means we do the right thing as well. We set the tone there. Paul said, we come to you in devotion and justice and blameless. Be honest. Blameless means nobody can accuse you. And if you're going to get accused and you're going to do something wrong, you're most likely to be seen by those in your own home, right? The people at the house that see us at our worst. We're not on our good behavior when we're at home. Our family understands. They love us. We can let it all hang out. We can be grumpy at home. We can have a bad attitude. We can raise our voice. We can punch the wall for each other at home. It's okay. Paul said, no. When we came to you, we lived blameless before you. Dads, that's some high goals there. To come into the home life and say, you know what, Dad, it's your responsibility as a father. Paul just assumes that's what fathers do. Right? Look back at that verse. As you are witnesses, God also how devoutly, justly, and blamelessly we behaved ourselves among you who believed. And then in verse 11, as fathers do. That's what fathers do. Fathers are devout. Fathers are just. And fathers are blameless. And I wonder if you struggle with that standard as well. Like, I would love to be blameless, but my family sees when I mess up. But they're cool with it. They forgive me, and we're all good. Paul shifted his attitude into action in verse 11. He says how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father does his own children. Here's some take-homes for fathers: to be engaged. Father engaged himself by exhorting, comforting, and charging. Whereas the first one are 3 things that you've got to be as a father, the next one are 3 things you need to do as a father. Dads, it's time to be engaged in the life of your kids. To get it in gear. Dads, engaged by exhorting. Exhortation is a big church word. But exhortation is this: go for it. It's, hey son, I know you want to be this when you grow up. Go for it. You want to play soccer? Go for it. Our job as dads, hey, you want to be president? Go for it. You want to be a millionaire? Go for it. Exhorting and encouraging and coming along our children. And Paul says, hey, listen, when we came to you, we exhorted you. You can do it. You need somebody who believes in you. And that person needs to be your father. Your father's got to believe in you. Your family needs you to believe in them when nobody else believes in them. You know why? Because the rest of the world is not even concerned about them. The rest of the world's concerned about themselves. Paul says, listen, when we came to you, we came to you and we encouraged you. We exhorted you. Then we comforted you. We came to you in exhortation, but also in comfort. Here's one that dads aren't really good at, right? Dads are tough. We're not good with comfort. If exhortation is go for it, comfort is it's going to be okay. Yeah, have you ever failed? Oh, good. I thought it was just me. You know what you need to hear from your dad? Not, hey, it's okay. Because it's probably not okay, right? But you can hear this. You can hear, it's gonna be okay. It doesn't matter whether you dropped a pass or you got a life sentence. What you need to hear from your father is it's not okay right now. Oh, you really screwed up. You really made a mistake. You really stepped in it. But you know what? It's gonna be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to get to the other side. We're going to fail forward. It's not how many times you get knocked down, but how many times you get back up. Son, let's go. I'm here for you. Words of comfort. Paul said, listen, we came to you in exhortation. We came and said, go for it. You can do it. You can turn to the living God from serving idols. You can overcome the desire to go back to those worldly ways. You can move forward this way. And yes, you got this. And guess what? Some of them messed up, no doubt. Some of them accepted Jesus Christ as their Messiah, Savior, Christ, and then went back to serve the gods of the sea because they wanted to have a good, safe trip. Or they went back to the prostitutes to worship the gods of sex because they had an urge. Or they fell back in some way or another, and Paul came along, and you know what? He didn't tell him it was okay. He told him it was going to be okay. And we live in a culture where when somebody messes up once, it's not okay. It's never going to be okay because the world's never going to forgive them for that. And the church needs to be the most forgiving place. Not that we accept sin, because sin is sin. But we come alongside sinners and tell them it's going to be okay. You guys see, this happened like 2 weeks ago. This is not in my notes, so this is bonus material. I watched this show on Saturday mornings where they're talking about football and the day's football things. And the kids at the college where they're at hold up signs behind the sportscasters, and they're, hey, Mom, send money. This one kid put a GoFundMe up because he was out of beer. Not condoning that at all, but people started giving him, he raised over $30,000 for his beer fund. Right? Crazy. He knew that was not a good idea. So he gave the money to charity. Well, the beer company found out about him, gave him a year's supply of beer. They also matched his donation. GoFundMe found out about it, matched his donation. Until this past week when somebody went through his Twitter, and apparently back in 2012 when the kid was like 14, he said something racist. So the beer company pulled their funding from him, and the GoFundMe, like, I don't have anything to do with him. He's an evil person. And the rest of us are like, what in the world? He was a kid. He made a stupid mistake. He said something he shouldn't have. And now he's anathema. And the reality is the me culture loves a great story of a guy who gives to charity. But there's going to be somebody who goes searching through the closets to find skeletons. And you got skeletons? I got skeletons. You got skeletons? You got things that, man, if some of the stuff that I did when I was that kid's age, if we had Twitter, I wouldn't be your pastor. I'm just going to say that right now. If we had Twitter, there's no way you would let me do this. And the reality is that the church, it should be a place, as a loving father comes and he says, son, you messed up, you screwed up. And it's not okay that you did that, but it's going to be okay. This police officer, the greatest gospel story this week was that police officer going to jail for shooting that guy by accident. She came in the wrong apartment, shot the guy. He was a worship leader, and the guy's brother gets up and he says, the best thing for you to do is accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. And he came down, he forgave her, and he gave her a hug. He gave her the gospel, and he gave her forgiveness, and he gave her a hug. And the world is like, how can you forgive her? Because it just doesn't make sense. And it like blew up on the internet. They left out the gospel part. They said the judge gave the girl a hug. They didn't say that the judge gave the girl a Bible. But those things happened. They said the guy gave her forgiveness, but they didn't say he gave her the gospel. But both of those things happened. It's a beautiful story of living counterculture, of saying, hey, you know what? You messed up. But it's going to be okay. Not okay. Fail forward. Let's learn from this. Let's move on, right? And then, since it's up there, charge them. It's the idea, the third action for the Father is to challenge our family, to challenge our kids. It's a word associated with martyrdom. It's of representing. He says, I came in as a loving father, or as a blameless, just father, and I carried out the actions of exhorting and encouraging you, of comforting you, and of charging you. Charge. I want to charge you. I want to challenge you. Here, I wrote it how it goes. I translated it for you. It goes like this. It says, go for it. You can do it. You failed. It's going to be okay. Get up and go for it. Right? Go get them, Tiger. Seize the day. Our role as fathers is to come in and challenge and encourage and exhort. Verse 12. See, Paul didn't just encourage them in secular pursuits, right? Paul came in as a spiritual father. He challenged them in spiritual things. He says, you are witnesses, God, also how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we behaved ourselves among you who believe. As you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as father does his own children. Verse 12, that you would walk worthy of God who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. So Paul came in and he suffered and served. He gives us an example of being a nursing mother and an engaged father. And then he gives them this parting exhortation. He says, listen, I came to you encouraging and comforting and charging you to walk. Don't run. Walk. Don't stand still. Take a spiritual step. Walk. Rise up. Walk. If there was a story in the New Testament that seems to kind of have its theme is this idea of Jesus or Peter coming along and someone finding healing for their lameness and being encouraged. They didn't say rise up and jump and dance. The people did, right? He said get up and walk. And if there's a thing that is a charge for us today, to rise up and walk. Take a step. I don't know what the step is for you. Maybe you're a mom and you've been a little selfish, or you've been using your kids to get some kind of glory for yourself, or you've been, maybe having your kids serve you as you eat bonbons. I don't know what you do. But today's a day to take a step. And if you're a dad and you haven't been affectionate, encouraging, and comforting, today's a great day to take a spiritual step. And I charge you, as your pastor, to walk. Rise up and walk. Take a spiritual step. Don't stay where you're at. I'm not asking you to run. I'm asking you to take a step. Just move one step forward spiritually today. Paul says, I encourage you to walk worthy. Worthy there just means appropriate. What's expected? Why? Walk worthy of the God who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. We walk worthy because we've been called into God's kingdom. And we're going to live in a culture where everything's about me, 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 me. Paul says, listen, we've done this before. We did it back at Thessalonica. We did it in Philippi. We're going to do it again here in Four Corners. And we're going to come to you, and we're going to be willing to suffer and to serve. Just like a mother would, who gives of herself. She doesn't come trying to get anything from her kids. She doesn't come seeking glory because of her kids. She doesn't come trying to get her kids to serve her. Just like a father who comes to you and he's got good character and he's living a righteous life. He's living blameless and justice before his family, and he comes and he encourages them and he comforts them and he challenges them. So I do for you. We came to you and we comforted, encouraged, and challenged you to walk worthy of God. And what was true then in Philippi was true in Thessalonica, and what's true in Thessalonica is true here, because we live in an age of rage where everybody's all about me, me, me. I got my rights. I'm going to do what I need to do for me. And the way that we live counterculture is to say, you know what? Jesus didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give himself. I'm going to do the same. It's going to be hard. Because you're going to get selfish at some point. Hope you remember and I hope you apply. Hope you walk further. Let's bow our heads.